In ancient Egypt, the Israelites were slaves forced to work under Pharaoh's harsh rule. Fearing their growing numbers, Pharaoh ordered every Israelite baby boy to be thrown into the Nile. Amid this terror, Jochebed hid her newborn son for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she made a waterproof basket, placed her baby inside, and set it among the reeds of the Nile. Miriam, the baby's sister, watched from a distance to see what would happen. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe at the river and noticed the basket. She opened it, saw the crying baby, and felt compassion. Miriam approached and offered to find a Hebrew woman to nurse the child. The princess agreed, and Miriam brought Jochebed, the baby's own mother. Pharaoh's daughter told Jochebed to nurse the child for her, promising payment. Jochebed cared for her son, teaching him about his people and their God. When the boy was older, Jochebed brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter. The princess adopted him and named him Moses, drawn out of the water. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, living as an Egyptian prince. Yet, he never forgot he was an Israelite. He saw his people suffering and carried their pain in his heart. The fate of Moses, once a helpless baby in a basket, was now tied to the destiny of his people. Miriam watched, hopeful that her brother's life would mean something great. The story of Moses was just beginning. Moses was raised in the luxury of Pharaoh's palace, learning the ways of Egypt. He was educated in reading, writing, and leadership, treated as a prince. But Moses always remembered his true heritage. He saw the Israelites suffering and never forgot he was one of them. One day, as a grown man, Moses witnessed an Egyptian beating an Israelite slave. Overcome with anger, Moses struck the Egyptian, killing him. He buried the body, hoping no one would know. The next day, he tried to break up a fight between 2 Israelites. One challenged him, "Will you kill me as you did the Egyptian?" Realizing his deed was known, Moses became afraid. Pharaoh heard and sought to kill Moses. Moses fled Egypt, leaving behind his royal life. He journeyed through the desert, alone and uncertain. Moses arrived in Midian, where he rested by a well. There he helped 7 sisters draw water for their sheep, defending them from rough shepherds. Their father, Jethro, welcomed Moses into his home. Moses married Zipporah, one of Jethro's daughters, and started a new life as a shepherd. He named his son Gershom, saying, "I have become a foreigner in a foreign land." Moses lived quietly in Midian, far from Egypt's power, yet the memory of his people's suffering never left him. Moses' journey from prince to exile was only the beginning of his calling. The next chapter of his life would change history. Moses settled in Midian, working as a shepherd for Jethro. He married Zipporah and started a family, living far from Egypt. Years passed, but the cries of the Israelites in Egypt grew louder. One day, while tending sheep near Mount Horeb, Moses saw a bush on fire that was not consumed. Curious, he approached, and a voice called, "Moses! Moses!" Moses replied, "Here I am." God told him to remove his sandals, for he was standing on holy ground. God revealed himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, "I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have come to rescue them." God commanded Moses to return to Egypt and lead the Israelites to freedom. Moses hesitated, feeling unworthy and afraid. God promised, "I will be with you." To reassure Moses, God gave him signs. His staff turned into a snake, and his hand became leprous and then healed. Moses still doubted, saying he was not a good speaker. God said Aaron, his brother, would help him. With God's assurance, Moses agreed to go. He returned to Jethro, said goodbye, and set out for Egypt with Aaron. Together they would confront Pharaoh and demand freedom for their people. Moses' life as a shepherd was over. His mission as a leader was about to begin. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown in Egypt. Moses and Aaron arrived in Egypt and went to Pharaoh. They delivered God's message, "Let my people go, so they may worship me in the wilderness." Pharaoh refused, making the Israelites work even harder. God sent 10 plagues to show his power. The Nile turned to blood, frogs invaded the land, gnats and flies tormented Egypt. Livestock died, boils broke out, hail destroyed crops, and locusts devoured what remained. Darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. After each plague, Pharaoh's heart grew harder. Finally, God sent the 10th plague, the death of every firstborn in Egypt. The Israelites marked their doors with lamb's blood, and God passed over their homes. Pharaoh's own son died, and he finally let the Israelites go. The Israelites left Egypt in haste, carrying what they could. God led them with a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. Pharaoh changed his mind and pursued them with his army. Trapped at the Red Sea, the Israelites panicked. God told Moses to stretch out his staff, and the sea parted. The Israelites crossed on dry ground, escaping Pharaoh's army. God's power had delivered his people. Safely across the Red Sea, the Israelites watched as the waters closed over Pharaoh's army. They sang songs of praise, celebrating their freedom. Their journey through the wilderness began, but it was not easy. The people complained about hunger and thirst. God provided manna from heaven and water from a rock. After 3 months they reached Mount Sinai. God called Moses up the mountain. Amid thunder, lightning and smoke, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. These laws taught the Israelites how to love God and each other. Moses stayed on the mountain for 40 days and nights. Meanwhile, the people grew impatient. They asked Aaron to make them a god. Aaron made a golden calf and the people worshipped it. God was angry, but Moses pleaded for mercy. Moses destroyed the calf and punished the leaders of the rebellion. God forgave the people and gave Moses new tablets with the commandments. Moses' face shone from being in God's presence. He led the Israelites onward, teaching them God's ways. For 40 years, Moses led the Israelites through the wilderness. The journey was filled with challenges, hunger, thirst, and constant complaints. Moses guided, protected, and prayed for the people. He was their leader, prophet, and judge. Despite their struggles, God provided for them. Moses performed miracles and taught them God's laws. The Israelites became a nation dedicated to God. Moses brought them to the border of the Promised Land. Because of a moment of disobedience, Moses could not enter the land himself. He saw it from a distance before he died. Moses' legacy was immense. He led his people from slavery to freedom. He gave them God's law and established their identity as a nation. Moses is remembered as one of history's greatest leaders. His story is a testament to faith, courage, and the power of God. The Israelites would never forget the man who led them out of Egypt. Moses' journey, from a baby in a basket to a leader of a nation, changed the world. His faith and obedience shaped the destiny of his people. The story of Moses continues to inspire generations. The Israelites stood at the edge of the Promised Land, remembering all they had endured. Moses, their great leader, had brought them through slavery, miracles, and trials. He reminded them of God's faithfulness and the importance of obeying his laws. Moses blessed the people and appointed Joshua as his successor. From Mount Nebo, Moses looked out over the land God had promised. There Moses died and God himself buried him. The Israelites mourned their leader, but his legacy lived on. Joshua led the people into the Promised Land, fulfilling God's promise. The journey of Moses was complete, but the story of Israel continued. Moses' life showed that, with faith and courage, even the most unlikely person can change history. From a baby in a basket to a prince, a shepherd, and a prophet, Moses' story is one of hope and deliverance. The lessons of his life echo through the ages. Trust in God, stand up for what is right, and never lose hope. The God who parted the sea and gave the law still leads his people today. Moses' name endures as a symbol of faith and leadership. The Israelites entered a new chapter, but they would always remember Moses. His story remains a beacon for all who seek freedom and justice. The journey that began in Egypt changed the world forever. Moses' story is one of transformation and faith. He faced fear, doubt, and hardship, but trusted God's call. Through Moses, God delivered a nation and gave them a new identity. The 10 Commandments became the foundation of their society. Moses' leadership shaped the destiny of Israel. His courage inspired generations to follow. The journey from Egypt to the Promised Land was long and difficult. Yet Moses never gave up on his people or his mission. He taught them to trust God, even in the wilderness. Moses' life reminds us that anyone can be called to greatness. His faith changed the course of history. The story of Moses is a story of hope, redemption, and the power of belief. As the Israelites entered the Promised Land, they carried Moses' teachings in their hearts. His legacy endures in every generation. The journey of Moses is a testament to the strength of faith. His story continues to inspire all who seek freedom and justice. Moses, the great leader, will never be forgotten. His life is a guiding light for all who follow God's call. Moses' journey from the Nile to Mount Nebo is a story of faith, courage, and leadership. He faced impossible odds, yet trusted God every step of the way. Moses led his people from slavery to freedom, teaching them to follow God's law. He was a prophet, a judge, and a shepherd to a nation. Though he did not enter the Promised Land, his vision and leadership paved the way. Moses' legacy is one of hope and deliverance. His story reminds us that with faith, Even the most unlikely person can change the world. The Israelites carried his teachings into their new land. Moses' name became a symbol of faith and perseverance. His life is a beacon for all who seek justice and freedom. The journey of Moses is a testament to the power of belief. His story continues to inspire people everywhere. Moses, the great leader, will always be remembered. His faith and courage shaped the destiny of a nation. The lessons of his life echo through history. Trust in God, stand for what is right, and never lose hope. Moses' journey changed the world forever. His legacy endures for all generations.